the corner, and it's probably going to be. One of the fans and the commenters said that we look more like F1 drivers if we do this with our watches.
Yeah.
You don't like it? All right. Okay, let's get into the 2026 predictions.
Welcome to the Blatantly Biased Racing Podcast. Now here's a bald guy and some Indian.
Hey man, how are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Good. There's some Alpine news, and I'm excited for Colapinto, but I guess we'll properly get to that in a bit.
We'll cross the bridge when we get to it.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, as I said earlier, your wet dream might be coming true.
Definitely. They just need Ecclestone now.
Yeah.
But yeah, for anyone wondering, there is obviously Horner and Alpine news. But given we were going to do a run through this week of our predictions for kind of the Constructors title for 2026, where we think the teams will stack up, we figure we'll talk about that when we get to Alpine, because it just makes more sense than doing a rant. And then we'll end up inevitably doing another rant about them anyway. So
exactly.
We'll just do it that way.
Yeah. So, I mean, just to brief the viewers. So what we are trying to do here is, since 2026, it's almost here. A few weeks, there are just a few.
Some teams are showing their cars off in like 3 weeks, which is livery. Let's be honest. Yeah.
So that's going to happen, and there are a lot of questions. Now, what we are doing in this particular podcast is, again, this is a very early prediction, probably going to be wrong, just like every other prediction that we've done.
Yeah.
So handle with care is what we say. Yeah. Okay. By the way, before we jump in, everyone who's new, subscribe. We don't say that often, but subscribe. And
we're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. It would really help, because we need to buy Alpine hats for next year, and unfortunately we don't get paid for these podcasts until we get 1,000 subscribers.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Also, one more thing. All of you viewers who are already subscribers, just let us know where you're from. Drop the country.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
I'm slightly interested to see. Just want to know where you guys are from.
Yeah. And also, if anyone wants to get really angry at me, you can go to seasonguide.hassettstudios.com. It has all of my predictions for what we're just about to talk about, but it also has the predictions for who I think is going to win the World Championship in terms of drivers. People are going to get really annoyed, so I'll put a link to that in comments. It's free, obviously. You just download it. But yeah.
Cool.
So I guess we start at the back.
Okay, let's start.
Yeah, so we'll go 11 to first. Makes most sense, yeah? Do you want to go, or?
You go first.
I think P11, almost without a doubt, is going to be Cadillac for me. I mean...
What? I thought you would say Red Bull.
Yeah, no. I don't think they'll be that bad. I think they'll be bad. I don't think they'll be that bad. No, I think Cadillac. Look, at the end of the day, I don't say this to bash Cadillac. I think they're making some good moves. I think the talk out of the team, what they're trying to do is good, but like, they're facing 10 other teams who've been investing heavily for years, who've been planning for this for years, who've been on track for years. And, I know Haas did a great job when they joined for the first season, but Haas essentially just brought a Ferrari along, let's be honest. So like, it's not that situation. They're building the car from scratch. And I know a lot of people will say they had a head start. They kind of were in the wind tunnel before anyone else, basically, to an extent, because they weren't bound by the same rules.
Yeah.
I just think that doesn't make up for actual on-track, in-season running with engineers and stuff. So I think even if they can even get within that like 170% qualifying every week without any fail, I think that's a win for Cadillac. And I think just showing up and not being Marussia or HRT would be decent, I think for season one, they should be given a break, but I just can't. If they beat any other team on the grid, in my opinion, that is going to be less me going, well done, Cadillac, and more me going to the other team, what the fuck have you been doing? Because they should not be beating anyone by rights this season, would be my opinion.
Yeah. Probably, I mean, a lot of things you've touched on, and rightly so. I think there are some things that actually work for Cadillac as well, to a certain extent. The Ferrari power unit, irrespective of how bad or good it's going to be, it's still going to be decent, and it's something that they don't have to worry about. Also, if I'm not wrong, a lot of technical support is coming from Ferrari. That gives them a decent head start, at least for the time being. With that being said, I agree. I also have Cadillac at 11th. The reason why I have them at 11th is...
Sergio Perez, you hate him so much. That's it, isn't it?
I thought you were about to say Valtteri Bottas, but
No, I'm talking
think-
about the South American.
yeah. Oh God. Uh, yeah. Anyways, my mind went off track. Just
you
a second, yeah.
We can finish this and then insult Helmut if you want. That's fine.
I mean, yeah, that's my favorite pastime these days.
Yeah.
So for me, all these things are fine. It's just that, okay, trick question. Who is the technical director for Cadillac?
It's not. Why do I think it's Pat Fry? And it's definitely not. 100% it's not. Who is it?
It's Pat Fry.
Is it Pat Fry? Okay.
He moved from Alpine to Cadillac. And
It's Alpine getting
there's
rid of the
Pat
bad people.
Simmons in some role.
Yeah.
The problem is we don't really know the structure as such.
Yeah. I mean, Graham Loudon knows what not to do, which is good. So,
Yeah,
you know,
to a certain
there's
extent.
that. Like, yeah.
I think for me, it's just that they're coming in, they're not that aggressive. And maybe they know where they stand for now. For them, at least the first year is going to be about just standing on their feet, just being decently in respectable position. Once they've done that, they can maybe push on. So
Yeah.
first year, yeah, I agree. Just give them grace.
Yeah.
It's not,
yeah.
they're not coming in guns blazing in any which way. They're not hiring aggressively. They're not doing any such thing. So yeah, it's a bit of a muted start, but maybe that's a good thing. Let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see where they are.
Yeah.
Blank slate, isn't it?
Yeah. And look, I think the other thing they have done well, which I think people will say is not that exciting, is I think in terms of driver lineup, they made the right decision. I think having two drivers that were kind of, you know, just recently at big teams and one driver in Valtteri who was at a team that struggled, you know, that's going to help them with development feedback and so on as well. So I think in terms of processes, having those two drivers is good. Just to really quickly touch on as well, Helmut Marko, I guess, just because we're talking about Sergio Perez.
Yeah.
It is quite funny that he's basically saying, I never said that, Horner made it up. And it's like, you said it live to the media. Like, it's not
There's
like
a
it was
fucking
reported
clip
on.
there.
Yeah.
There's a fucking clip going around throughout social media. And do you think we are fools? I mean, again,
I'm not bald. Horner made up a rumor that I'm bald, by the way, and I'm not bald.
Not
I'd just
Horner,
like to point that out.
Yeah, okay, yeah, Horner. It's hilarious because he thinks everyone is fucking stupid. That's the problem.
Yeah,
Ultimately, that's the problem with him. And
The problem is he's right. Because there is a ton of specifically Dutch flag wearing Verstappen fans. No offense. Well, offense actually, because it says in the banner, if you're not offended, don't subscribe. So offense meant, please subscribe. A ton of them in my X feed, and I'm not saying it's all of them, but I've just seen so many who are like,
okay,
yeah,
by the
this
way,
was clearly
I'm sorry
Horner.
to interrupt. At least let's set the table for the.
Yeah, sorry.
There might be some sane people who don't even know what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
So let's just set the table. So Helmut Marko, as soon as he was fired, he came out and gave an interview, and he had a few things to say. So I'll just give a very brief of everything what he said. First thing was, he thinks Red Bull didn't feel the same anymore. That was the first thing. Second thing was,
That I agree with him on.
yeah. Second, not like he had any role to play.
Yeah. He just burned the fucking place down, but that's fine.
Exactly. And finally, he was chucked out. Second thing was, he said that Horner was lying to the Thai shareholders, and ultimately they saw the light, and then ultimately they helped kick him out. The third thing was, he said that Christian Horner, he basically manipulated whatever was said about Sergio Perez being South American, and that's why not being as consistent as a Verstappen or a Vettel. These are the three things he said. First thing I agree with. Second thing, even logistically, I think is wrong, because what happened was the 51% share that was there, the stakeholder, there was a 2% dilution. The Thai shareholders, they basically diluted 2% of the share and they sold it off. So it was 49, 2, and 49. So there was equal voting share. And again, they were convinced. Basically, they gave their approval when it comes to firing Horner. But it's not a case of that everyone turned on him. It was more
literally, when it comes to the Thai shareholders, like we said this in 2024 when they gave backing, which was like the simple thing you need to know about that is the Thai shareholders basically just liked making money from this operation and showing them to events.
Yeah.
And when Dietrich was running it, that was fine. And they gave Horner their backing in 2024 because they were still winning. And we said then, the moment they stop winning, he's going to have issues with the Thai side because they don't really care. And the moment they stopped winning, they were like, yeah, here, take the 2%, you deal with it. It's not our problem. That's essentially the reality of it. It's not a case of they were like, he's lying to us, we better show up now. It's like they never cared. Like the
third
it's
thing,
just the
finally,
fact,
and the third thing and finally, probably the most dumb thing he could have said, he basically came out and said that, remember when I apologized about the whole Sergio Perez South American comment? I never made those comments. They were fabricated. The problem with the whole thing is, not only did he make those comments on live TV, it was on Servus TV. The comments were so egregious that Servus TV had to issue a statement on behalf of Helmut Marko, or basically Helmut Marko issued the statement on Servus TV's platform to apologize for what had been done.
Yeah.
Unless and until Christian Horner owns Servus TV and basically orchestrated everything, it's fucking stupid to even assume that.
What he's saying is that Helmut is basically saying that Horner had such control of Red Bull that he also had complete control over everything that Helmut said. That's the issue. That's So it's quite funny. But yeah, I've just seen tons of specific fans who disliked Horner, and essentially they've gotten into their worldview, which they did back then, which was Horner is the problem. And essentially this is like, oh, well, this must be true then. And even when you see people like, he said it on live TV, they're like, oh, well, find me the clip. And then like, I've seen a couple of people like send the clip and they're like, they just don't respond then. And it's like, oh, okay. Like there's no interest in the truth anymore. It's just like, which version suits me.
Whichever version of lies
whichever
I want to believe
suits my worldview. But anyway, we don't want to spend too much time on that. It's just a funny comment.
Done with that. Moving on.
Cool.
Let's talk
P10.
about P10. Should I go for it or should
you go? We'll switch back and forth.
Okay. I have Haas in P10.
No way. Me too.
You
Yeah. I actually thought Haas was going to be a contentious one to have in P10, but anyway.
Yeah. So the problem why I have Haas in P10 is there have been a couple of interviews from Ocon and Behrman. They are yet to test the 2026 car. They didn't test it until the first week of December, while every other driver has been testing it and working on it in the simulators since mid-season. First of all, it hurts your preparation. I am astounded that while every driver has complained about the fact that the new cars are going to be a bit counterintuitive, the way they are supposed to be driven and everything. Second thing, why do you want to put yourself in a position where your adaptation period is just a month?
Yeah.
Secondly, Haas now, I think Haas is slowly starting to cut ties with Ferrari. They are going their own way in terms of the engineering side of things and building their own car. There are positives to it, long-term positives, of course, because Toyota is also getting involved. The negative is they cannot guarantee that this team who's probably building a car from scratch for the first time without any engineering support, he's going to nail it. And I don't think we've seen any evidence of the engineering excellence from Haas ever since 2016-17 when they first jumped in.
Yeah.
It just makes me take a step back. Plus, the Ferrari power unit is not going to kick ass from the beginning. So that's the other thing.
That's kind of like along the lines of my thinking. Just to add to it as well with the Ferrari engine, I don't think the Ferrari engine is going to be particularly bad, but I actually think it's probably going to be at best the third best engine on the grid personally. So therefore, if you put that together with the fact that I think the grid's going to be pretty tight, like I think there's some really highly competitive teams here that I think have done the work. It means that Haas is always at a disadvantage because they still haven't upgraded. I think the other thing is too that they're now kind of working in partnership with Toyota, and I think that's going to mean some changes, which hopefully they'll invest more in, they'll build up on, because I think Haas needs to do that. But I think we're not going to see the fruits of that for a while. So I don't know. It's just, I think this is another situation where
in transition is what you're trying to say, right?
Yeah, and also just this is another situation where like this one could be the most wrong because it's reliant on the other teams doing well as well. So like there's been a couple of times, like 2022, for example, Haas did pretty decently coming into the season. Now, that is mainly for a couple of reasons. One, they took 2021 completely off, so fair enough. And two, a lot of the other teams in 2022 really fucked up the new regulations. Like, they got them really wrong. So, like, it's the same as, like, there's certain seasons where you're like, oh, they did such a good job. And when you actually look at it in context, the reality is it's like, well, I don't know. It's just some of the other teams did a really poor job as opposed to you doing a really good one. Now, you could say they did a really good one by comparison. Like, you know, you could argue this till the cows come home, but if everyone does their job properly as expected, like looking at their technical teams, their current investment, you know, their facilities, everything that they have, Haas should be 10th, you know, so it depends, will anyone else really, really shit the bed, you know, otherwise, but otherwise
Also,
Haas
on
should
the
be last,
contrary, yeah, I agree. Also, on the contrary, there could be a scenario where Ferrari nails the power unit regulations. In that
And
case,
Haas
they just shoot up, right?
Yeah.
So that's the other alternative universe, where it could happen, of course.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
not
just-
denying that.
This might be end up being a running theme in this, but I've noticed from comments on my channel as well that people in the comments, I know I can almost see this coming now. Maybe not now because I'm saying it, but they're like, yeah, but Haas did really well in this regulation set and when they joined and everything. And the problem is they didn't. Well, they did really well in the new regulation set on the first year, and then it kind of dropped. But
They did
well, the first half of the
they
first year.
dropped, then they rose again because a lot of teams shat the bed, and then this season again they just went down.
But the point I was going to get to is just with a few teams on this list, you'll see where I'm like, I'm not sure. Basically, everyone's going to do the whole thing of, oh, but they did this before. And it's like in F1, just because you did something before has almost no bearing on whether you'll do it again. Because in 2021 to 2022, no one could have told us that Mercedes would be so terrible, you know?
Yep.
In 2009, no one would have told us Braun would beat those big teams like McLaren and Ferrari and Red Bull. So
True.
just because it happened last regulation, the point I'm bringing is Haas did a good job before. We'll talk about Mercedes later, but I've seen a lot of people in my comments being like, well, Mercedes, look at 2014. I'm like, that was 2014. Like, it has nothing to, it was a completely different situation.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah, true.
yeah.
Ninth.
P9, I guess. This one again, this could be contentious, maybe not at all, but I've gone for Racing Bulls. And I guarantee
Seriously?
a few people have them much further up.
I have them at P9.
Oh, really? Okay. This is interesting. By the way, for anyone watching, we did actually do these completely separately. Like, this is, there's talking.
I jotted down the list, I think 5 minutes before we started
Yeah.
recording.
Yeah. Well, my reasoning is just that, like, I'm not. The Racing Bulls has been like relatively good this year in terms of qualifying and everything else, right? But the reality is, it's been a very easy to drive car. It hasn't been a car that's been on the limit, which is good for a team that's like training rookies or whatever. But I'm just not convinced with Eggington, given like, I know I just went on a bit not referencing the past, but like the entire past of Eggington is like someone who builds a very good car for rookies, but is not good at building a car that is like very high performance. You know what I mean? It's not good at making a highly competitive car. And we've had seasons where they've done well, but whenever they're supposed to make that step, they never really do. They always like fall back again. And I think as soon as the other teams push on, they kind of fall down the order again because, like I said, they're good at making a car that's very drivable, but they're not very good at making a highly competitive car. And that's probably down to the fact that they usually have rookies or like inexperienced drivers in there that, you know, they're not able to keep pushing to that limit. So it might be more on that than Eggington. But yeah, I just think with this regulation set, there's that plus the second part is the powertrain. I'm not sure where the powertrain will be. And this, like Ferrari, they could jump up the order if the powertrain's good, but I'm not convinced yet. So yeah.
Before I give my view, do you think Racing Bulls under-delivered this season in terms of where it should have finished in the championship?
Slightly. Yeah. Slightly. I mean, they did a decent job, but not. They could have done better, I think, yeah.
Yeah. I think they could have beaten Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Because
in terms of, if they had Yuki Tsunoda in there from the start, like if that was Yuki and Hajar or even Yuki and Lawson, I think, yeah, they probably beat Williams.
Yeah, because the car was more or less middling, right? It was never out of the window, while Williams had a few good peaks, but the other races were
A lot of bad races as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
and Sainz just peaked brilliantly in both Baku and which was the second race he got a pole in?
Qatar.
Oh, Qatar. Yeah. So those were the races. That plays a role. Now, for me, it's more power unit dependent. I think there are big question marks when it comes to the Red Bull powertrain. It could be decent. The thing is, what do we define as decent? I don't think it's going to be competitive or at the sharp edge of the grid. It's going to
No.
be decent in terms of the reliability is fine, the power that it delivers is fine, but it's not really it's going to be at a deficit. That's what I
Yes.
feel is going to be the case. Because look, this is the first time they're building a power unit. They haven't done that from scratch. So you can't expect them to compete with the likes of
Like
Mercedes,
Honda,
Ferrari,
who are carrying who's carrying over its engine, essentially, like the V6 block. Essentially, they're not exactly
are.
the same engine, but
They
yeah.
all are.
Well, but I mean, Red Bull isn't. For example, they're building a new one from scratch.
That's also a worry. Yeah.
You know, they've got to build the entire engine from scratch. It's not like it's not like they've got the Honda V6 block to carry over. You know, so yeah.
Plus, there's also going to be one question, which we are probably going to get to later as well.
With
how
Red Bull, yeah.
how the board now deals or manages the racing bulls, whether they look at it as an appendage or
This is a big question, because I guess we don't want to get too into detail in this episode, but
probably we'll touch more of it on the Red Bulls when we talk
but
about
just
Red Bull.
specifically about racing bulls. Like, I mean, the board could look again to, because we know this specific board wanted to sell that team in the past, you know, and if we go into a season where both teams are underperforming compared to where they want to be, I think that could very much be on the table again, because, you know, why keep it at that point when you could get a couple of billion for it and just focus on one team?
How much is it worth? 1.5 billion right now, isn't it?
Probably 1.5 to 2. I think the only problem they're going to have with that is that Red Bull, Horner moved a lot of the team to the same campus as Red Bull. So that might be a bit of a hindrance for any other team who wants to buy it over. Yeah. But I could see it for sale again. It would be sold, but I think that would decrease the valuation. Yeah.
Fair. Next up, so in P8, please don't say Audi.
Have we just done the same list?
Fucking hell.
We definitely won't in the top 6, I'm sure. I would not be surprised if the top 7 or the 7 down to 11 are the same.
Yeah. I doubt everyone would have such similar list. I'm surprised. Yeah.
I guess it's just because we're so clever.
We think too alike, apparently, when it comes to Formula One. Not in any other thing, by the way.
No, in nothing else,
Exactly. By the way, guys, what's your 11? How would you have it?
Let us know in the
just
comments.
let us know in the comments.
Yeah.
It would be interesting to see, because this is strange. So
if we go all the way to 1 and we're the same, I'm gonna be fucking shocked.
Yeah.
But anyway,
it would suck as well, because
it'd be a weird podcast, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Okay, so for me, I think, as I talked about it earlier a bit, so when I appeared on the news channel, I was able to gain a few connections on LinkedIn, and a few of them were from Ingolstadt, and they are quite positive when it comes to something on these lines. So they have no fucking clue how the car would be, but in terms of the power unit, they're saying it's over delivering right now. They didn't expect to be this far ahead, so they don't expect to have the best power unit. I think it's become a bit of a paddock consensus that Mercedes would have the best one, but they think they'll be more than fine. They don't have any issues with reliability as such, but they think they'll be solid and comfortable when it comes to that. Then comes the car part of it. Now, there's something that a lot of people might not have noticed when it came to Audi. Mattia Binotto spent a lot of time developing the car into the season in 2025. So maybe when it comes to the design and everything, they are probably going to be a bit behind schedule. It could happen. We could see a scenario. Audi could be one of the teams which probably has an underdeveloped car at the start of the year, and then during the year they continue to develop it and make it better. Overall, though, look, first time, even Audi is pretty much in the same situation as Red Bull powertrains. They've not built an F1 power unit before, and it's a different level of excellence that is required. I think they'll take their time when it comes to getting to that particular level.
Yeah.
I think P8 is still fine. If they are P8, I think they'll take it for the first season, and I think more or less they'll be there. I don't see them. I don't see them. Last year I was so down on them. 2025 preseason I was so down on them. But the way they've approached the season and things have improved, the stock is rising, at least in my view.
Yeah. This is the thing for me. I'm not expecting the power unit to be in the top 3 even of the power units, but I actually don't think they'll be as far behind as I was expecting some of these power unit suppliers to be.
So I think they'll be okay. Honda. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the thing is, like, Audi essentially, like, they should be quite good at building an engine anyway. No matter how much more this is complex, like, Audi has the technological prowess to do this. They've built electrics and even the V6s, like Audi's built engines for a long time. And the VW group, like, if you talk about like 6-cylinder engines, like the Porsche 911 is in the group. Not that Audi people like to talk to Porsche people, but like there's a lot
to say that, by the way.
Yeah, there's a lot of no, but there's a lot of expertise there, and like they own Lamborghini. There's all these, like, Audi directly manages Lamborghini, for example. So there's a lot of expertise they can pull in. So I don't think it's going to be that bad. I just think that it's probably not going to be the best, especially because it's the first time building an F1 engine. So that's going to take time. When it comes to the chassis, again, I don't think it's going to be anywhere near the best, but I'm much, much, much more optimistic, as you said, about that team now, because even though Mattia and Jonathan Wheatley's team basically spent more time building into the 2025 season, I think that was absolutely necessary. They needed to understand their tools. They need to understand their workflows, and the fact that they were getting better, delivering things. From what I've heard from anyone I've spoken to around that team, the main thing for them was like what they got in the simulation tools very much correlated with what's come out on track. And if you don't have that confidence, then you can't develop a team for 2026. So I think it was good for them to do that. So even if that puts them slightly on the back foot in 2026, I think it was the right decision in the long term.
Yeah.
But yeah, exactly. And I would love to see them hired in PA, because I think it's it's Sauber as well. Yeah, and also Sauber has a bit of a soft spot for me as well. Like, it's a team that's been around for a long time. Perez obviously was a Sauber driver. There's been some brilliant drivers at Sauber over the years. So I would like to see them do better.
All of them. Kimi, Massa.
Yep.
Heidfeld.
Vettel at one point, right? BMW Sauber.
No.
Was he not?
Oh, yeah.
Test and reserve.
He debuted with BMW Sauber.
Yeah. Test and reserve for them. So, yeah, just tons and tons of F1 drivers there. So I'd like to see them do better, but I think if they get a PA, as you said, I think they probably won't be happy with it, but they'll be relatively like,
they'll be happy.
We're okay.
They'll be more than
maybe.
Happy. They just need a foundation, to be honest. And if the foundation is not something similar to Honda 2015, I think they'll be more than happy.
Yeah.
I think their main worry is not coming up to the first race of the season and finding themselves not even making the 107%. Yeah. That's their worry. And if they are not in that bracket, they're just on the verge of points, I think they'll be more than happy with that.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? P7, I think we are not going to agree.
We're going to have the same thing, maybe. I reckon we will. It's not Alpine, is it?
Fuck off.
Oh, that's so funny.
How is this possible?
I don't know. This is so funny because, like, genuinely, for people watching, like, we didn't talk about this at all. So yeah, this is so funny. I guess I'll give my reasonings on it because we're probably going to spend a bit more time on Alpine than some other teams. But my reasoning for it is, look, they gave up the essential 2025 season. They did like a Haas 2021. They didn't bring, as far as I don't even think they brought a single upgrade to 2025. I think I believe the car chassis was actually a carryover from 24 as well, right? Yeah. So they did nothing. So all of their time and energy has been spent on 2026. They've got the Mercedes engine coming in, which we all think should be quite well, or should be one of the best, if not the best. And on top of that, like, Alpine in general, when they get their shit together, are quite good at building chassis. The reason that I don't have them any higher is because it's been a long time since Alpine have got their shit together. And I think there's still a lot of turbulence going on behind the scenes. And I think they still have a lot of work to do. And I think even all guns blazing, P7 is probably where I expect them, you know. And I think, again, if they get any higher than P7, I really will be questioning like the top kind of 6 teams. Like, how did you do so badly? You know, like this is terrible. But yeah, I hope they do better because obviously I'm a Colapinto fan now. But I don't think they will. I think that'll be as high as it goes.
Yeah. The problem is on the technical side. I think what's happened with Flavio is there are the whole team management as such is it's very shallow at this stage. Now Steve Nichols has been brought in, but as the managing director, right? Since Ollie Oaks left, they've not done any signing as such. I think the team, the way the team acts and the way the team talks are two completely tangentially opposite world. Because the way they talk about winning in 2026. We've had Gasly even talk about that. But then you look at the actions, and the actions are not of a team that's looking to win. They're not hiring anyone. There's not been any urgency on that front. And they lost and leaked a lot of people. And they are still leaking a lot of people from Enstone, and they're going to other places. If that is happening, it makes you question what's the end game here. The end game should be just selling off the team, but it seems maybe there are other alternatives in play as well.
I would.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. No,
yeah, so
go ahead.
I think for me, if a team is pretty much compromising an entire season for the next regulations, usually they come out firing. And in Gasly and Colapinto, they have decent drivers as well. The problem is, I don't know if the technical team is, first of all, if it is competent enough. Secondly, they have the right people at the right place to actually make it happen. I'm not sure they do. That's the worry.
Yeah, there's been a lot of brain drain from there as well over the last few years as things have gone poorly. A lot of people have left for other bigger teams, and when you don't have that structure at the top consistently, that tends to happen. That's going to be a big problem for Red Bull, which we'll get onto in a while, which is like they're going to start seeing people leave, you know. But yeah, the thing about selling the team, I wouldn't be surprised if the Alpine name sticks around for a while, because if the Renault group can essentially keep like 40 or 50% of the team and have very little investment and kind of let someone else run it and slowly buy it out, I wouldn't be surprised if they're like, this is just, we can get some cash up front and then turn it into like a marketing opportunity. So we'll sell more Alpines, but, you know, we don't have to worry about actually doing anything. You know, like that wouldn't surprise me. It just becomes an investment. But the question will be like, if, as we'll get onto now in a second, I guess, if Horner does come in and take the team, he's not going to be, I don't think he's going to be happy with that 24% for a long time with a partner who's not invested. You know, he's going to want like someone who brings something more to the table without taking his control away. You know, so maybe a manufacturer who can bring an engine for 2029, you know, someone who can bring more investment for facilities, these kind of things, you know. So I guess there's a lot of questions there. But yeah, we think Horner's going to go there now. I kind of thought so from the start. You still not sure?
I think Horner has worked with Renault, but he worked with basically Carlos Ghosn and Luca Di Maio, and both of them were not the best people to work with, and his experience has been pretty shite. Francois Provence was basically succeeded Luca Di Maio. He's been very positive about continuing to race in Formula 1 and stuff like that. I think what Horner would ideally look for is, if he's looking to go to Alpine, is he would want something similar to what Mercedes has with Toto.
With Toto.
Even Toto has also, by the way, he's also sold off a chunk of his shares, I think 5 or 6%. So even he's at now in 20% something stakeholders.
Yeah.
On that front, there's not really much of a concern. I think concern for Horner is going to be that at some point he wants to have his own power unit, because without that you're always handicapped. There's no other way to put it, because what we've seen is, at least in 2014 is probably the best example. Then even in 2021, when out of the blue Honda announced that they're leaving the sport, they're pulling the plug. That kind of things, I don't think Horner wants it again, especially if he wants long-term success.
Gives you instability you don't have control over. Basically.
That's the problem. You don't control all the variables. So can he trust Renault to to first of all, once again, start building power units, then be competent enough to build good ones and put in a lot of investment.
No, I don't think he's going to want Renault to be doing that at all.
That's the
like,
thing.
I think this is like even Alpine road cars use Mercedes engines now, I think, as far as I'm aware.
I
Or do
don't
they use
think so.
Renault ones?
Is it?
I don't know. Let me find out. But
That would be.
I might
a
be
bit of a
confusing with
disaster, by
Aston.
the way.
Sorry, my bad.
That's Aston. But Aston.
Yeah,
also
I'm
has,
just trying to think. But Alpine did have. I don't think Alpine were using a Renault
I
engine.
doubt it.
Oh, it is. It is a Renault engine. Yeah, of course it is. Sorry, I'm an idiot. I don't know why I had that blank there for a minute. Yeah, I must be thinking Aston. Or maybe Lotus. I'm confusing it with. For a
No,
minute. Yeah.
Aston has that. Aston does use Mercedes power unit.
Yeah, but
engines,
I
not
was
power
trying to
unit.
think about. I think. Does Lotus use them as well? No, Lotus uses Ford. Well, anyway, it doesn't matter. I don't know where I got that confused.
Yeah.
Obviously, they use Renault engines. Why was I such an idiot there? But anyway. But yeah, I think you're right. Like, he's not going to want those. I think he gets another partner in, another brand in, basically, at some point to build the engines.
Yeah, let's see.
You know.
I think for me, the problem with the Alpine partnership is he'll need to put a lot of work into it. That's
Yeah,
where
yeah.
I think there might be. And John Noble did an article about the whole thing covering the Alpine and Horner's situation. He said that for now it seems Horner is going to sit back and look at how things are in the first half of the season. And because at that point there are going to be some teams that are vulnerable and would be ripe for
This is-
sitting.
I've thought from the start, and I said this a few times, I think on the podcast, I was like, Alpine seems like the most obvious choice, but I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if he waits until the first 3 or 4 races of the season pass by, because some of the teams who are like, no, we're good, Horner, like, go away, you know, might, if they really shit the bed at the start of the season, might be like, hey, about that, you know, and he can come back and go,
Yeah.
right, but I'm offering half of what I was fucking offering you before.
Exactly.
You know, like,
Yeah.
so...
Could be the case.
Yeah.
Let's see.
But I
Let's
think
see
it'd
what
be a good thing for Alpine. Yeah. P6, please don't be the same. Go ahead.
Red Bull.
Oh, good. We finally are different.
Finally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I
Alright.
have Red Bull in P6. I think the biggest limiting factor is going to be the power unit, and secondly, they've spent a lot of time developing the 2025 car. They're already making noises of being on the back foot when it comes to that. Good luck, Lauren, when it comes to 2026, because finally you're going to face the heat, which is not going to be fun. But yeah, I don't think they're going to be better than P6. I just don't think
What
so.
do you obviously I'll talk about Red Bull when I get to them on my list, but like what do you think about the powertrain and stuff? Like not convinced at all?
I mean,
Interesting.
we've talked about it a bit, right? I think that's going to be the main limiting factor. It's going to
Yeah.
be fine, but it's going to need a lot of work to reach a point where you can actually call it the benchmark in Formula One. I don't think it's anywhere close to that right now. And
Yeah.
I think this might be the point where, since board is going to take decisions when it comes to Red Bull, I think this is the one big investment that the board is going to question. You know why? Because the last couple of years, which team won the championship? McLaren. Mercedes.
Yeah.
Do they build their own power unit? They don't.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that have actually been a part of the team and that know the importance of having your own power unit, they have been chucked out already. So
Yeah.
sucks to suck.
I'm a bit more optimistic about Red Bull, but we'll get to that.
Seems
I've
like
gone
it.
for one that I'm gonna really regret this one. I know this is gonna be wrong, but I just have this inkling feeling. P6, I've put Williams, and I think Williams should be higher than this. Like
Oh.
they could be top 4 easily. Could be top 4 with everything they have going on. Yeah, they could be top 4, and you know how much I'm an absolute fanboy of James Vels or Jimmy
James
Consonance, as we
Ball, you
call him.
trust.
Yeah, and also like they've got 2 really solid drivers. You know, obviously Sainz kind of actually did even better than I was expecting this season against Albon, but you know, so everything is there. The problem is that like above them are all the teams who have, well, all the teams plus one more who have like a proven track record of building And all of the teams who've like invested in, building stuff, they've got the power unit as well. So Williams, as much as they have the Mercedes power unit, so do a couple of other teams they're fighting against. They're also fighting against teams that have big aero teams and so on. And I think we've just seen a few too many times in the past where Alpine is a perfect example, right? Like there's been a couple of times where Alpine, and I know Alpine isn't James Vels, so I want to make that very clear. But like, there's been a few times where it's like, Jesus, they are so close. They're like knocking on the door of the top 4, top 5. And then we get into the next season when you're going to be like, they're going to be a top team next year. And all of a sudden it's like, yeah, we fucked up the regs. Like we got it wrong. And I just think Williams hasn't been tested enough yet. And I just have this weird feeling that we're going to get into the season and find out, oh, some of the correlation tools weren't working, or this wasn't working, or this wasn't working. And I think Williams in 2-3 years will be a spectacular team. But I think this is the first big test of this new team, and I think they're going to find some shit that they weren't expecting. And I think the other teams will have the staff and facilities and fuck-ups in the past, frankly, to know what to look for in those situations. And I'm just not sure if Williams does. And the only reason I think that I could be wrong massively there is that James Vels obviously was around in 2022 in Mercedes. So, maybe he's already spotted some of that stuff. But yeah, I think I could. This is one of the ones I think I could be massively wrong on. But that's my opinion of it. Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, there's one team that is rumored to be already a step ahead when it comes to being ahead of schedule when it comes to being ready for testing. It's Williams.
Mm-hmm.
There was recently they are a couple of weeks ahead and they want to run they might do a filming day or something before the first private test, and I'm forgetting the date, somewhere in January. So there might be a case where
I think I might be wrong on this one. I think this, if I'm going to be wrong on any of these, I'm expecting it to be Williams. And if I'm honest, I'm hoping it's Williams. I would love if Williams showed up and they're on the podium in the first race and end up like in the top 3 or something. That would be fucking amazing. But every single time in the past, we've been like, oh, that team is the one to watch now. And it's like, it just doesn't happen. So
by the way,
I'm dubious.
Yeah, one dead wrong that I think we should correct. Cadillac's CTO or technical director is Nick Chester. It's not Pat Fry.
Oh, okay. Pat Fry is with the team though, right?
He is.
Okay.
In some capacity. I'm not sure which one. Yeah.
All right. P5. So P5. I guess I'll go for it.
You'll be the one.
Yeah. We're probably going to be different from here on up. Maybe 1 or 2 spaces. We'll see. Ferrari P5. I've gone for. Yeah. And
I'm also going for Ferrari, by the way.
Unfortunately, it's not going to be Leclerc's year. I'm sorry, Leclerc, but I can't even wear that. Fuck Ferrari. Yeah. Look, Ferrari are really good at building engines, so I actually don't think the engine's going to be that bad. I also don't think it's going to be the strongest engine, but I think it'll be close enough to it'll be in a top 3, which I think will all be relatively close. The problem with Ferrari is it's not even like the chassis should be decent, but like even like some of their top staff for building technical side is gone. Like they've got Loic Serra now over, right, from Mercedes, but they've lost Cardile. They're putting pressure on Flavio. They've got a second driver who's never developed a car. Flavio? Did I say Flavio? I meant Fred. Sorry, they're putting pressure on Fred. My bad. I've got Alpine too close there. I should get rid of that. So like, they're putting pressure on Fred a lot as well. There's a lot of like inter-team dynamics. And what I've heard in the comments of my channel over and over again is, well, they've got a guy who knows how to develop a car in Lewis Hamilton. And my response to that is, when the fuck did Lewis Hamilton ever develop a car? Like, show me one time he's developed the car. 2013, Schumacher had already done the work. The car was already kind of, they knew what they were doing. And in 2014, it was on the engine. Like, nothing to do with Hamilton. And if you're going to say 2022, yeah, that went real well. 2024, when he said he put a hand on it, okay, fine, he'll develop a car that Leclerc can drive. I think that team is just going to be too much of a mess. And if they are above P5, I will be shocked. Like, shocked. And I just want to point out as well, I guarantee you they will be above P5 for the first 4 races. And then shit will hit the fan, because that's a typical Ferrari thing. But by the end of the season, they will be P5. I'm certain of
in the
this one.
championship standings, basically.
Yes.
Right?
I'm certain of this one. Yeah.
Yeah, even I went with Ferrari in P5 because honestly, I couldn't dare to put them higher. By the way, it's surprising because I think you've put Red Bull much higher than I have, which is interesting. I think for me, the biggest worry for Ferrari is not going to be. I think the power unit is not in the best of shapes because whatever the Italian media says, first of all, don't believe them. Secondly, don't read them. Third, their top two men when it came to the power unit department, they've been either chucked off or they've left and they're going to Audi. So that is never a good sign. It seems the momentum is not there with them. They'll be fine in terms of whatever car they're going to build. But I think if Ferrari gets to the first race of the season and the car is not fighting for the championship, it's not in the top two, top three. I think at that very moment, within the first 4 or 5 races, we are going to see the collapse of the entire operation. Fred will be fired. Leclerc will leave. Lewis, I'm not sure which way he goes because once that happens, I think he might end up extending his stay at Ferrari because they'll have to keep someone for the sake of it.
Yeah.
So maybe what happens is, unless this team is winning, they are looking at a very, very dark future because a lot of key members are going to go, and that's Ferrari.
Yeah.
It's almost sad, to be honest. It's been 18 years now. What? Yeah. They just don't learn. They don't learn at all. By the way, you came across Maurizio Rivabene's comments about Vettel also bringing the documents and everything?
No.
You haven't? Lovely.
No.
This is a perfect segue in that case. So during the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, the last race of the weekend of the season, in Sky Italy, we had Maurizio Rivabene, and he was talking about a few things during his time at Ferrari. So the topic of Lewis Hamilton sending the documents with all the details and everything to the senior management, it was put to him, and he said, yeah, Vettel also used to do it. But as a driver, you have a role to focus on your driving and developing the car. If a driver is not doing that and he's being an engineer, it's not good for the team. And once I heard that, I was like, fine, thank you for giving me. I think that was probably the best confirmation bias I could have ever got. That why did Vettel fail? Because at Red Bull, first of all, I think context that a lot of people are going to miss here is when Vettel joined in 2015, when he joined Ferrari, on that grid, he was the hottest property.
Yeah.
He was not only the most successful driver, but he was also the most successful driver in the last 4 or 5 seasons. He won 4 of the 5 titles and everything was working for him. Then the 2015 season that he put together was brilliant.
Yeah.
At that point, the team decides that, who the fuck are you? We know what we're doing. Okay.
Yeah, it's typical
Speaks a lot.
Ferrari, isn't it? Yeah, it's typical Ferrari. So yeah, I have very little confidence in them. And like honestly as well, to those people again, like if you think Lewis is good at developing a car, even I don't agree, but even if you think that's true, as you've just pointed out, like that's not going to fly at Ferrari. So you've gone to the wrong team.
I don't understand.
He would have been
this
better
thing.
off joining
Why?
Williams. Like
Yeah. No, it's true.
Like
By the way, a
genuinely.
bold prediction, an early bold prediction. I think Sainz ends up finishing ahead of Leclerc and Lewis in the championship next season.
I've rated Williams lower, but I hope that's true. Like I really hope, and not because I'm against like Leclerc or Hamilton, just because I want Williams to do well and Ferrari deserve to be shit because they're literally just doing shit. Like
The
they're
arrogance
not.
is something I will never understand.
Yeah.
What are you arrogant about? And again,
Yeah.
this also brings back another interesting anecdote I actually heard on a podcast on Bring Back Vtens. When Michael Schumacher joined Ferrari, so at that point, John Bernard was the technical director at the team. And Michael Schumacher asked that just pre the first private test that they were about to do, that the steering wheel, he wanted the steering wheel to be 6 mm from him. That's the
6 millimeters.
yeah, just for his comfort and everything. So Ferrari had a mechanism for 5 mm and 7 mm. So John Bernard told him that use either of the two, that they'll be fine. Now, as soon as John Bernard came to the office the very next day, overnight, Ferrari senior management, basically Jean Todt, had put people on work to ultimately make a steering system which was 6 from Michael.
Yeah.
That team ended up winning 5 consecutive world championships, because that's what good teams, and that's what the teams that are capable of winning do. If you've hired world champions, the best driver in the last few years or whatever, listen to them. Seriously, listen to them.
Yeah. Because the more comfortable they are, the better in the car. You know, this was like Newey's talked about this as well. Like in terms of driver feedback, he's like, I don't need detailed engineering feedback from you, but like the feedback from the driver is utmost important. And it's up to me to decipher what that means. You know, they could explain something completely wrong, but it's like up to them. Because he talked about before how like a driver, I don't know whether it was Max or maybe Vettel. I think it was one of the two. He talked about how, I think it was Vettel actually, because I remember this was a while ago, and he was saying like he was turning around a corner and basically he said he could feel something slight on the back, you know, and they checked the car and nothing there or whatever, and he was like insistent, no, there's something, you know, moving in the back of the car, and he's like, there's nothing there, and he's like, it's only when they actually took it completely apart and like x-rayed apart there was a slight like bearing off, and he's like, he could feel that in the back, like, you know, he's like, that's insane. So like Ferrari not taking, drivers don't develop the cars, the engineers do, but that driver feedback is so important to actually like getting those, not on like the overall, but when you're talking about the fine margins, that's where the driver feedback these days comes in, you know.
It's not even just that. The driver can come in and see the culture of a team, and culture matters, right? He can tell you that these things, we used to do these things in my previous organization where we won for 8 consecutive years. If a driver who has been a part of a team that has won for 8 consecutive years, it's worth listening to him, right?
Yeah. And also, it's just you keep the drivers happy. Like that's, you know, like that's the point of any organization. Like any business I've run, like your top performers, you keep those guys happy. Yeah. Because if those guys aren't happy, you're not going to get 100% out of them. Like if they're coming in going, I fucking hate that guy, they're not going to be focused on their work. So you keep the drivers. If a driver says, look, I'd feel more comfortable with 6mm change, and you're like, I only have 5 and 7. Can you work with 7 for today and we'll figure it out over the next week? You just say that. Like keep the driver happy. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like it's not, you don't say, no, we can't, sorry. You know, don't care about you. Like it's ridiculous. Anyway,
Number 4.
P4. Is it you or me this time?
You.
It's you, right? Is it?
No, wait. It's me.
You.
It's me.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have Williams at P4.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So first of all, the Mercedes power unit is one thing. Secondly, foundationally, what they've shown in 2025 is they can build a decent car. I'm putting a lot of stock in the Mercedes power unit being good. I'm also putting a lot of stock in the fact that just like Alpine, this is one team that basically gave 2 fucks about 2025. Funnily, they ended up finishing P5 in the championship still. Yeah. But they're basically checked off every box which needs to be checked off for a team that is right on the verge of winning championship. I won't go there winning championships, but right on the verge of potentially taking the next step, which is maybe fighting for an odd win or an odd podium here and there. I think that's where Williams is right now. And I'm quite positive because I've not seen any red flags from Williams until now. I think that's what makes me think that, okay, they are probably going in the right direction. Maybe some might pop up in the future, but for now, things are working perfectly.
Yeah. I've gone for Red Bull P4.
Yeah, I thought so.
So look, I don't think Red Bull's going to fight for the title in 2026. And I do think that Red Bull will fade into shambolic shithood by 2027, 2028. Mainly because they're now run by a quote-unquote steering committee, which is the death of any Formula One team. So, like, I think the problem with that is, like, essentially a steering committee or a board does what it does. It jumps to rapid conclusions at any sign of trouble. And that's going to be their downfall, I think, right? But I do think the 2026 season, I think we'll start to see all that stuff by the end of the 2026 season. Like we'll start to see the cracks forming by the end of the season. But I don't think we'll see them at the very start. And the reason is I just think that they've still got a very strong team, you know, and like that strong team, the core team who actually builds the car, hasn't fucked off yet, right? And like the top guys, they're slowly like going away, but we've seen this like in both directions. Regardless of whether you're going down or going up, it takes time for like those changes to trickle down throughout the team because the team culture is still there. The team still operate in the same way. The team don't stop taking tape off the wall until Laurent Mekies tells them, we're a corporate team now and we're hoping for a Disneyland corporation building. That. Yeah. So like, obviously he was told that by the board, I'm convinced. Like, I don't think he gave two fucks about it personally, and again, over 2026, I'll probably shit on a lot of this team. It's not meant personally at Mekies. I just think the board, Mekies was installed by the board in Red Bull. He was put there by Horner originally, but now by the board, if that makes sense. So, yeah. But look, anyway, starting off the season, I think in terms of aero, like Red Bull has a very strong aero team still. Vache's still there, Balbo's still there, the rest of the team's still there. And they've managed to get a lot of them to sign out their Horner clauses, apparently, by offering more money.
Let's see.
We'll see if that's true next year, but apparently, according to them, the point is they will be there for at least 2026 anyway, because even if Horner manages to get some of them to go with him to, say, Alpine, for example, it likely won't be till 2027 with, you know, gardening leave, all these things. So they've kept that team for the 2026 car. Also, as much as the 2026 regs weren't finalized, they had a good idea of what they were going to be in terms of like the overall outfit of them, even when Nui was there. So he would have helped like point the direction. Not completely. Like the active aero stuff wasn't finalized, but a lot of like the kind of what they're aiming
even
for
the
was there.
dimensions weren't, by the way.
Okay. So, but I think he still would have been able to point them in somewhat the right direction. And I don't think it's that important because you're not talking about a title winning car. I think in terms of competitiveness, Vache and Balbo know what they're doing. They've also like, they know how to correlate the car, because if you look at like, everyone obviously is going to bash the job that they did in say 2024 and early 2025. But like, if you look at the position they were put in
Everyone
2024,
that is stupid.
Everyone that's a moron. Yeah. If you look at McLaren caught up and they were boxed into a window with like where they could move. And over that season, they managed to actually turn that around, you know, and then over the off season, they had a decision to make. They could essentially throw away 2025, or they could fix the car to some extent and then do more fixes in the season, and look how it worked out. So they still know how to develop a car. So I think for the early 2026, I think they'll be strong with aero. And I don't think the engine, I think reliability throughout the season is actually going to be their biggest issue, because I think they've bought in a lot of people from Ford. They've brought over 200 odd people from HPP. I think they have some good talent there to actually make an engine that's powerful. But I think your first time building an engine, if you're going to focus on one thing, which Horner, you know what he's like, he would have set the direction on. I'd rather have a fast engine and worry about reliability second. That's what he would have set up. So the team would have been focused on performance, and it's their first engine. So they can't have everything perfect. So I could see them starting 2026 with solid aero, a solid engine, but by the end of the season, the engine is blowing up and so is the team. But I think they'll finish P4 because of that strong start, personally. That's my thing on it. Yeah.
What happens with the team in terms of Max and Isaac?
I think
take as well a bit later, but first this thing.
Sure. So I think Max leaves at the end of 2026. He's not going to leave before then. But
I think a lot of people really wouldn't call it a given in terms of dynamics.
That he's leaving. You mean in terms of the two of them performing? I think Max beats Isaac. However, this is a 2014,
regime,
isn't
by
it?
the way.
But it's a 2014 as well, isn't it? You remember, like, you know, 4-time world champion at Red Bull goes into a new regulation set with the new up and coming rookie who, you know, been doing quite well at the junior team. But then again, I've just gone on a rant earlier in this episode about how history doesn't repeat itself that often in Formula One. So,
won't be the first time we contradict ourselves within of a podcast.
It won't be the fucking last either. Yeah. So,
so I'm slightly worried. I'll touch on it a bit on this one. So for me, the reason why, I think I've talked about it earlier in the pod as well. I think the power unit is going to be the biggest limiting factor. But I think the other limiting factor is going to be once the car is not up to the mark at the start of the season, Max is probably going to be off the boil. He's not, Max had a strong season this time around in terms of overall performance, but if you look at his first half and the second half, there's a marked difference even in when it comes to his demeanor as well. And early in the season, when he got to know that he wasn't really fighting for the championship and things were not on the table, there was a bit of the shoulders dropped.
Yeah.
In 2026, if the power unit is so bad that he knows he can't really compete for wins or even forget about podiums, once he reaches that mindset, I think the shoulders are going to drop even further. And Red Bull is going to do what Red Bull does always, which is always, by always I mean the last season, they're going to push for as many upgrades as possible to help Max, to help climb the, basically shorten the gap to the front. That's what their aim is going to be. But every time working with panic in new regulations, I don't think it works out. I think that's where the problem is going to be overall.
When you have a steering committee, that's what they're going to want. They're going to be like, we need to change this in the next 3 months.
Max. The thing is, it's going to be, we need to keep Max. How do we keep Max? We need,
which they just need to, they need to forget about. Like, this is the thing. They need to just, and I think like if you kept Horner and this wasn't going on, if it was Horner and Dietrich in the original team, I think if they showed up in 2026 with like, okay, the car is not going to perform and Max is going to leave, I think they would have been like, right, our choice is we can push to try and keep Max or we can push to rebuild the team. And I think it would have been like, let's rebuild the team, you know?
The bigger question is if what would give Max the confidence that this team can turn it around? It doesn't have
Building
Horner,
the team
it doesn't have Marco,
yeah.
It doesn't have the key people here. It has Lauren Mekies and
but Yoss is there. So
yeah, that's the thing. I have very low expectations from Red Bull when it comes to this. I also think 2026 is going to be probably the most challenging year for Max, because this will be the first season since his rookie season where I think he might be forced to fight in the mid pack. And that's something he's going to go into race weekends, 24 of them, knowing he might not even be on the podium.
Might not win a race, yeah. I mean, was it Vettel just talked about this in that recent interview with Tom Holland, isn't it? Not Tom Holland, but Spider-Man.
Clarkson.
I keep doing this. Clarkson. This is the second time I've done that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he talked about it where he was like, one of the things that really got him down in 2019, I think it was, or 2020, where he's like, he basically showed up and they were at best getting like P4s and 5s at certain points. And he's like, Leclerc was super happy about it.
Leclerc, yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, "This, I'm not even excited about this. You know, like I don't want to be here." And that's where Max and Isaac could be interesting, because if they show up and it's like, "Oh, I got a P4 or get a P3 next week," like Isaac's gonna be like, "Let's get another podium. Let's go for it." Like, whereas Max is gonna be like, "We're not gonna get a win. Like, I don't care.
Yeah. What am I doing?
Like
here?
So, yeah.
Because I think 2027 Max is, I think it's almost a done deal. He's going to Mercedes. He's going to replace George.
Yeah,
he's going to go there, and once he does, I think by mid-season we'll probably know a lot of these moves.
Or he's going to replace Antonelli because George's contract is focused around beating his teammate.
No, none of that. I can guarantee you that he's not going to replace.
Almost definitely.
We both know that, right?
Yeah. I don't care what George's contract, because I have it like, I'm fairly well understood that George's contract is basically hinging on him beating his teammate. I just don't think it matters. I think they'll be like, yeah, we don't care. Like, sorry, we'll pay that off.
Yeah, exactly. Next up,
P3. Is this me or you? It's me. Aston Martin. Are we the same on this? Yeah. I thought we would. I think for the top three, we were going to be the same. I think this was inevitable.
I think top
maybe
two. I think we might be a bit different when it comes to who's the fastest.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. I think, look, Aston Martin, I don't expect to be fighting for, well, they might be fighting for a title for a part of the season, but I don't think they'll be fighting at the front the whole way through, because there's just too many things that need to go right. And I think this is one of those situations where Aston, I think in 2027 could be a serious team to watch for the title. I just don't think it'll be the case in 2026, because I think they've got Newey, who's just joined and is changing things. He's moving a lot of things around. You know, he's now the team principal. That's going to be interesting to watch. I think he will have made sure that the aerodynamic department is set up right now, and that's why he's happy to kind of move over. And I think he's probably given his feedback and maybe drawn some suspension, whatever he's done. But basically, he's set all the team up in the right way. They've got all the right facilities. They've got the money. They've got one driver who can deliver the title and another driver that, can help the mechanics by bringing coffee or something. They've got all these people that are in the right place. They've got all the facilities. But I just think the problem is the kitchen is built. It's just going to take a little while for these cooks and chefs to get everything rocking. And I don't think it's going to happen straight away in 2026. The Honda engine, though, I do think will be very close to the Mercedes. I think I have never seen or heard a Japanese person talk this optimistically about something in my life.
Was doing.
Yeah, like Japanese people will show up and literally have like the best thing in the world beside them that they've spent 20 years building, and they go, it's okay, but we need to see how it performs. Like that's literally like, whereas an American would be like, we think we're going to fucking take over the world with this. A Japanese person would be like, let's wait and see, and when a Japanese person gets excited, you're like, oh shit, someone protect Pearl Harbor. Like this is not going to be good for us. So, yeah, I went there. I think they have everything. I just think it takes time in Formula One for everything, and I think putting that all together could be the last piece they need to do.
Tell me something. What's your take on Newey being the team principal?
I know a lot of people talk about this in terms of like, oh, this could be bad. I actually don't think so. I think this just gives him more control of certain areas, and I think they haven't put someone in charge of the CEO role yet. And I think for a lot of his time in Red Bull, like he's around the paddock anyway. He's there at the races. He's seen a lot of that go on. And I think the only thing that concerns me is him wasting time with the media. I think everything else is kind of, it's fine. Because the business side, talking to driver decisions, things like that, he's always been involved in that. Like he's always wanted to say in who's driving. He's always wanted to say in most of that stuff. So I think as long as they get the right CEO who can take away the stuff that he just doesn't want to deal with, like sponsorship meetings and maybe some media sessions and stuff like that, if they can just like put that onto someone else, I actually don't think it's a bad decision. But it will be interesting. I don't know. It's a toss up, but I don't think it'll be that bad. I don't think it's a huge change. We'll see.
I think for me that's the first red flag I've seen from Aston Martin in
Really?
whatever things they've done.
Mm-hmm.
What is Adrian Newey's skill set, and what has he cut his teeth in Formula One in the last 30
Shaving
years?
his own hair. He's very good at that.
Yeah.
Designing
Basically, it's
boats.
the technical side
He's
of
very good at designing boats.
Yeah.
Yeah. His new boat.
Basically,
actually
the
is-
last 30 years, he's been brilliant on the technical side. He's never been on the management side. And there's a quote that was, there's a quote from Christian Horner on HPP podcast. He said that, Chris, if you're putting Newey as a manager, you're basically calling for chaos.
Was
He's
this
an
a
artist.
recent interview or was this?
It was last year, probably. I think.
Oh, okay,
Last
okay,
year or a
yeah,
year
yeah.
before that.
I was just
So-
wondering. I was like, was Horner on HP, like on the High Performance
recently.
podcast recently? I was like,
Jacques
oh
Villeneuve,
god.
Villeneuve was there recently. And you should watch it. It's amazing.
Did he say
Funny.
Ricardo was never good? But anyway.
He said Lewis didn't deserve 2021, and that went down well with a lot of people. So, anyways,
He didn't.
coming back to
but
this.
Anyway,
Coming back to this. For me, what a person's core competency is, and why you made him a shareholder, is for his technical acumen, not for his management skills. He was not a manager ever. He was someone who sat down and did the work. And again, he had his team and everything is fine. But when it comes to a team principal's role, it's not only limited to just the technical side. There's a lot more that goes with it. The business side, that's one side of it. Then there's also the countless number of meetings, the FIM council or the racing and everything that he needs to take care of. He'll also have to manage the strategic side of things, and also who he needs to hire, who he needs to fire, and stuff like that. Usually these are the things that, if he wastes his time on all these things, it takes away from him spending the time on building the car.
I don't know
There's
though.
Wait. There's one thing
go ahead.
as well, by the way. When he was first interviewed by Sky Sports, there was one interesting thing he said. He said that I was going to be at the first few races anyway, so this is just added. This is just not much of an added responsibility. which hinted that they already have someone
That
lined
hinted
up
that
to
we
actually take
thought.
over.
I think that made me think Horner's still
Horner.
coming in.
That
Yeah.
was my
Yeah.
thought process as well, and it would have made sense. But Horner is not coming, and the fact that Horner is not coming and they've got rid of Andy Cowell, it doesn't make sense.
Seems
to
like
me in any
something's
which way.
off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the problematic thing.
I agree. I think you're right. I think it is a red flag in some cases, more because of where Andy Cowell's gone. Now, if it was a case of like it just wasn't working and Andy Cowell agreed to, I doubt he did, but like agreed to go to the position he's in. Andy Cowell is actually, technically speaking, gone to the ideal fucking position that you'd want Andy Cowell in at the
Not
moment.
necessarily,
in terms of
right?
integration, right?
Okay, I got it.
You know.
Yeah.
But like the other thing is, I don't know, like the only thing I would say on that is, yes, I agree. The red flag is there. If the pushback or the devil's advocate to that is that for a lot of the time that Nui was at Red Bull later on in his career, he was just managing the technical team to an extent, like the whole technical side, because he wasn't doing a lot of the day-to-day work. Like he famously designed the chassis or the suspension for the 2022 car, but then essentially just set the direction with everyone, like talked to Vache, talked to Balbo, like got them all on the right cylinders, and then would show up to like fix stuff as it went wrong, which you could say is kind of like jumping in and out managing. I guess what I'm envisioning, and again, like you're right, it could be a red flag, or they could actually be like pragmatically thinking about this properly, and only time will tell us which one it is. But like they could also be looking, Nui specifically could also be looking at McLaren and going, that Stella Zach Brown arrangement does make sense for me. You know, I can be a bit more hands off and be that team principal and have a CEO who comes in and deals with sponsors, the public,
not the same
that kind
thing,
of thing.
right? Because the position at which Zach Brown is, it's the same as the position at which Lawrence Stroll is, to a certain extent. Lawrence Stroll
Yes.
is basically the head of Aston Martin, the entire thing.
Yeah.
Zach Brown is the CEO of McLaren Racing, which is not only Formula One, it includes Formula E, IndyCar, and every other.
Sure.
Basically racing, all
and
kind of
McLaren
racing.
in general, I think, as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what Andrea
But they could
Stella
do the
does
same
is-
with Aston if they wanted to.
They can, but Andrea Stella is not just a technical guy. He's basically managing everything when it comes to the business. He's doing the job that Toto does, or that Horner used to do. He's not just the technical guy. So on that front, it's fine. Again, let's see what happens. I still think they've checked a lot of boxes when it comes to having, and Enrico Cardile is already there. They've also put a few people that are capable enough of doing a good job. Sorry. And then there's also Honda, which is, it seems that they're making all the right noises on that front. So a lot of boxes are checked. And I agree with you. I think it would be a fairy tale thing if somehow Alonso has a car with which he can fight for the championship next season. But I doubt that would be the case, because there are still too many moving parts which are not fixed. The stability is not there yet at Aston. And again, it happens with a new team. There are a few things that are being shuffled for now. But let's see. I think P3 is fine, but it's not the most confident call from my side as well. A bit of wishful thinking as well, I'd say.
Yeah.
P2.
Okay. No, it makes sense. Just before we get on to P2 though, sorry, I just got distracted by a text. What do you think about Alonso going over and Jensen Button's comments as well?
Did you not see what happened?
Sorry, Planet F1's comments and Jensen's response, which was quite funny.
There's an inside story as well. I'll tell you the story off the record.
Oh,
no,
okay.
offline.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fun
yeah.
things
Well,
have been going on at PF1.
There's a thing I was looking at with Alonso in general, and I find it funny because I remember at the start of the season I was saying that I don't know what's going to go on with Hamilton here. Like, he hasn't been good over the last few seasons and so on. I thought like retirement might be better. I don't think Ferrari's going to be good. We both basically went through all of that over the course of the season. But there was one thing I did think about, which was Alonso since then, because someone basically, I remember at the start of the season said, if you said this about, Hamilton and his performances in Ferrari so far, why aren't you bashing Alonso, who's, being beaten by Stroll? And I said, it's been 5 races. I'm going to give it time because Alonso hasn't been this bad ever. So something else is going on here. And lo and behold, Alonso did what Alonso did and absolutely smashed it for the rest of the season. And the main reason I went to this rant is if we're wrong and Aston Martin do have a car that can fight with, let's not say it's out and out the best car, but is, enough to fight for a title with a George, with Lando, with,
basically a fast car. You're saying it's capable of consistently.
Do you think he
fighting
can
for
still
the
bring
wins
home a
of the-
title? Because I'm absolutely convinced he could take on those guys still.
I think there's one more issue, which is again the growing pains that Aston Martin goes through. The driver, I don't doubt Alonso as such, and I've not seen signs of it yet. I've seen signs of doubts when it comes to Lewis. I think the problem with Alonso is, and if you've noticed carefully, there have been a few races where his strategies have been fuck all, and he's been ranting about it on the team radio. The whole "I'm the luckiest man in the world" and stuff. Yeah. So it's just, as I said, growing pains when it comes to a team. Once you move from midfield to the top, there will be few areas where they find out that, okay, we need to be better operationally. And
Sure,
stuff like
but
that.
I just mean in terms of actually Alonso's performances specifically.
If your question is if Alonso is capable of winning a championship in a good enough car, I think yes.
Yeah, because I think this season I've seen a car that has been awful at races and okay at races, never quite good. And Alonso's been brilliant. I don't know if I know like we shouldn't listen to Lance Stroll a lot, but I don't know if you've heard like one of his comments where this is the first time I've ever heard Stroll say something like this, but he was like, I was on the limit with that car going out in Q1 in Qatar. I don't know how he got to P6 or whatever.
He said it a
P4.
few times.
Did he? Yeah. Because that's insane.
My job,
Like,
so I know.
Of course.
I have to hear Alonso. I have to hear Alonso.
Yeah.
He said it a few times. And
that's
look, there's
wild.
a lot of respect between the two, and it is what it is with Lance, right? I mean, I don't want to shit on him. Everyone does. But
I always do, yeah.
yeah, it's look, for me, the problem with Aston Martin, the limiting factor is not going to be the power unit. It's not going to be the driver in terms of Alonso.
I love how you said driver. It's not gonna. I'm not gonna shit on Stroll, but their problem's not gonna be the driver. At least not Alonso. Yeah.
You have to be honest. I just think that the team is still not there yet in terms of being a fully
Yeah, I think we
being the
both
perfect
kind of agree on
operation,
that.
right? That's the only issue which
It's
I
like
think is there.
everything's there, but it just needs to all be lined up, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of.
I mean, look, we hardly get lucky in Formula One. Let's be honest. If we were lucky, we would have had a 2022 championship battle between Leclerc and Max.
If we get Alonso fighting Russell and the two McLaren guys, and even hopefully Antonelli as well for a title next season, like a 3, that would be fucking immense. Like that would be incredible. Yeah, it's not going to happen, but it would be incredible.
Yeah. We can. I mean, that's what off season is for, right? Dreaming. So that all
Dreaming,
those
yes.
dreams basically fall apart as soon as the first
Ferrari
lap is done.
copium.
Yeah,
That's what the off season.
Ferrari copium is. I'm done with that.
I think
Fuck that.
everyone. This might be the first season where I've ever heard people be like, "Yeah, I'm no interest in. Yeah, it's not
Pretty much.
happening."
And Leclerc is like that. Forget about everyone
Yeah.
else.
Okay,
He's not confident.
P2. P2. So it's your turn, I think, right?
For second, okay. I'm going with McLaren.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. All
I
right.
think they're going to be second. Again, if it's second, we can talk about it. If McLaren is second, then Mercedes is first. I think
I
Mercedes
guess, yeah.
first.
Yeah. So
So we'll talk about both of them together anyways. So for me, when it comes to McLaren, I think having the best power unit helps. They have all the information when it comes to homologation and everything. It's going to be equal. There's going to be no issues on that front. FIA even gave out a clarification when it came to that recently. The problem is when it comes to the power unit, the team that builds it always keeps something close to the chest. Not everything is explicitly told. I think that's where Mercedes kind of shines. Also, there's a lot of things that have been rightly talked about the Mercedes aerodynamic unit. When it comes to developing the cars, they fucked up for a few years. Even if
Really?
they finished second in the championship this time around again. By the way, they finished second in the championship twice out of 4 years.
that's because they're the only one of the top 4 teams with 2 competent drivers.
True. Yeah, I don't
Take from that
disagree at
what
all.
you will, fans. And yes, I am insulting Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris.
Yeah, of
Definitely,
course.
definitely not. No digs at Lewis Hamilton here.
Okay,
I'm
I
not
thought you were
flying them.
talking about Yuki Tsunoda.
I was talking about Hadjar, but anyway.
So, anyways, coming back to it, I think the
And Lance
with
Stroll,
James
actually.
Allison in place. Yeah, let's not go there. I think with I think with James Allison there, the team, it's going to be decently enough. And again, every noise that has come out of that camp, for the first time around, we haven't had anything in the last 4 years which has been positive from the Mercedes camp. This time around, every noise that is coming out, both from the power unit and from the chassis side of things, they're positive. Let's see what happens, but at least when you're a works team, there's always that inherent benefit, and you cannot deny that. I think that's where Mercedes is, whom I'm giving an edge. I don't know how substantial that edge is going to be. We don't really know that. And I mean, until we see the racing, we don't really know exactly how everything is going to pan out. But for now, if I have to make a call, it's going to be Mercedes first, McLaren second.
So I've gone the opposite way around, as you probably
Go for it.
guessed from my
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I agree on the engine. I think there's going to be some, in terms of technically regulation wise, they have to get the exact same engine. I do agree there's some intangibles like knowing where you can kind of package things a different way, you know, using engine components in a different way in terms of, especially with these engines where there's going to be a lot of management. Like they can give them the same package, but not tell them, by the way, on the straights, if you manage it this way, you'll gain an extra, you know, like they can do all that stuff. So I do think there might be a slight edge there. I'm not as confident as you in terms of aerodynamics for Mercedes. I got in a lot of trouble on my channel because I said that Mercedes have never ever built the best aerodynamic car. And I'm trying to think of a season in which they've built one, maybe 2015.
2020, 2019,
2020, I don't believe so.
2018,
I don't think they did in 2020.
the DAS.
Yeah, fair enough, but the engine still was the main
it was a
differentiator.
second faster than the second faster
Yeah,
car.
but the
second
Honda
fastest
still
car.
had a lot of issues that year.
It wasn't a second slower power unit.
I don't. Stop making me look foolish on this podcast. Yeah, okay. 2020,
You're right. It
20,
never happened.
yeah. 2020, 2015, maybe 2014. We don't know because they were so far ahead in terms of engine. But like, I don't know, in other seasons, I just don't think they've ever been the strongest aero team on the grid in terms of just in general. You know, like I think they've always had a little bit more in the bank in terms of engine than aero, and they've beat everyone.
Well, of
there.
course.
you know.
Their main advantage was and also the bigger thing, and I think you kind of take that into account when you're picking McLaren. In 2014, the teams that had the Mercedes power unit, they were Force India, Williams, and McLaren. McLaren was on the downslide. Williams was a backmarker practically in 2013. And Force India didn't really have the money. They were basically running a shoestring budget.
Yeah.
So none
and
of
Williams
those teams
was on the
ever.
podium repeatedly.
Williams finished second in the championship.
Yeah. Shows you how
And-
powerful the engine was.
Yeah, and Massa got one pole position and almost won the last race. So
Yeah.
the point being that
The engine.
they didn't have anyone to actually compete on the same power unit.
Exactly.
And Toto's already making noises on that front. They're talking
So-
about reducing that.
Yeah, removing an engine. The thing though for me, like setting that aside, because you're right, there was a couple of seasons where they probably were the best. But like setting that aside, the problem for me is if we look at lately over the last 4 seasons, their biggest issue has been the bane of everyone's existence in Formula One, which is correlation. You know, like mainly that they're never sure when they're going to do poorly or when they're going to do good. And every time they're like, that track will be really good for us, it's not. And when they're like, that track's going to be really bad for us, they end up doing okay or winning the race in certain
Singapore.
circumstances. Yeah. So like,
Jesus Christ.
it's just a case of the problem with that is if you're not sure, even if you're like, oh, well, this is a completely new regulation set. If you're not sure in this regulation set when your car is going to do well, the problem with that is you are developing a car that you literally can't test on track until we start the season, by which time it's too late. And when it comes to Mercedes, that's my biggest issue. I don't think they'll be terrible, but I think when you're talking about like winning a title, you're talking about every single like last tenth. And especially because it's not going to be like 2014 in terms of the engines, in my opinion. And even if it is, McLaren's going to have the same engine. So it doesn't matter. Like, you know, but I also don't think it's going to be a second in lap time. I think all these engines will be relatively close. But then you're talking about the final tens. And I think when you have those correlation issues, it's so easy for Mercedes to do what they did in 2022 again, even if they're not trying to. Of like, oh, we went in this direction. We think it'll work really well. And then when they go to put it on track in testing, it's like, oh no, that doesn't work. You know, and the difference is McLaren with their team in the past 2 seasons, they've fucked up a lot of other things. But the one thing they've gotten really, really right is that every time they expect an upgrade to do something or they expect something to work a certain way, it does. Even if you look at Lando's car, they had to change like the whole kind of front axle and try and build it in a way that was better drivable for him, or suspension setup. Sorry. Yeah. They had to change it in a way that was better drivable for him without losing a load of performance. And they managed to do that in the season, bring the upgrades, make it all work. That's a team that, in terms of correlation, is firing on all cylinders. And that is a team that I would expect that if they think the car is going to do something in the wind tunnel, it's going to do it on track as well. So I just don't have that confidence in Mercedes. And this is where I could be proven wrong here because but that's my logic on it.
No, it's fair. Yeah. It's fair completely. Tell me something. If the Mercedes lineup has a car that is, let's say, a couple of tenths off McLaren, who wins the championship?
George wins the title.
No. Championship as in the team as well.
Oh, McLaren, I think. I think, look, the thing is, yes, Oscar and Lando gave a lot away this year, but I also think like Oscar took a big step up between season 2, season 3. He's going to come back even stronger, I believe, next year because of everything he's learned from this season. I think Lando is going to come back even stronger because he's now a champion. A lot of the doubts are gone out of his mind. He probably won't be fighting Max, so he's not going to be under that pressure either. So, like,
George is also a different kind of pressure.
Yeah, true.
Because George will be fighting for the championship for the very first time. So we are also going to find out how he is under the heat.
How he operates. But I think Antonelli is the wild card there. Because I rate him very highly, but it's still only his second season. And you're talking about a different level of pressure. A season where, like, if George starts fighting for the title, Antonelli's mind is going to be, I should be fighting for the title. And that's a different level of pressure for your second year in F1. And we saw like where even Oscar, a very cool, calm character with a lot of experience in Formula 2 and Formula 3 at like winning championships, even he buckled under that pressure at points.
Yeah.
And I think that's where like Antonelli will probably get a lot of shit if that happens. I don't think it'll be deserved. I think it's just, it's bound to put that pressure on you. But that's where I think in terms of the constructors, I could see them winning the constructors that way. Interestingly, though, if that does happen, I wouldn't be surprised if George wins the title and the drivers and they win the constructors. If that is the case, for the same reason that Max nearly won this year,
And we'll be the lucky ones, by the way. Mm-hmm. We'll have a title battle.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure which way Kimi goes because again, it will be his second season, right? Mm-hmm. But I think why I give Mercedes even more of a credit when it comes to this particular scenario, I think they are more, how should I put it? They've been through more wars. Toto Wolff has been through more wars. He knows how to marshal his troops. And if I have to make a pick between Lando and George, who is probably a more battle-hardened character in terms of having the mental strength, I think it's George.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, Lando has already fought for 2 world championships, so he has the experience.
Yeah. You know what else goes against McLaren in history? When's the last time the incumbent Constructors Champion won the next season?
When's the last time?
The current Constructors Champion won the next season in a regulation change. So like 21, Mercedes won the Constructors. Obviously, they were nowhere in 2022. In 2013, it was Red Bull. Nowhere in 2014, essentially. In 2009, it was McLaren in 2008.
1990.
I think so. It's a long time. That's the only thing that could fuck us up with McLaren. Yeah. If history continues, that could be problematic.
Wow. So what do we have in that case with them? Wow. It's 1990.
I should do a video on this actually, because that just popped into my head, and I'm like, that's a good video topic actually. But yeah, it's a long
No,
time.
it's 1994. Williams.
Yeah.
When
No,
they
'cause-
got rid of all the driver aids.
Didn't Benetton win 94?
The drivers' championship, the constructors, was won by
Constructors.
Williams.
Sorry. Yeah. Williams. You're right.
So,
yeah. So
wow.
94. Yeah.
94. Yeah,
Yeah.
different time.
But 94 as well is a weird one, because they also got rid of those things. Like, that was a very late regulation change. It wasn't meant to be a regulation
Within 2
change.
months, by the way.
Yeah. It was Canada, wasn't it, that
was
they called
so
it?
funny. I don't remember which race it was, but it's
I
so
think
funny
it was
that
Canada.
yeah, it's just Max Mosley comes in and says, okay, these are the new regulations when the first race is within next first test is within next 2 months, and every team has to comply.
Yeah.
That was the kind of fuckery that used to be pulled off at that time.
And
Yeah.
technically is the reason Senna died, when you think about it. Like, that decision led to his death, you know. If you
Otherwise, he
follow
would
the
have
rabbit hole.
won the championship in '94. Just
Yeah, yeah.
cruised it.
Because, like, Nui talked about this, the fact that, like, the team and even Senna, like, they were all on board with, well, we still need to go fast. And
We
it's
need
like,
to push everything, and they
yeah,
pushed everything.
and it's,
right?
they kept going with a car that was essentially built to have driver aids.
Steering
and
block
didn't have-
broke.
But yeah, it's
Anyways.
when are the other regulation changes? So it's 2008 to 2009,
Okay,
it was
so
McLaren.
I'll break it down for you. First is 2021, 2022. That's the recent one. Then 2013, 2014. There was a minor change from 16 to 17, but it's basically the same. Not a drastic change. Like,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
cars got fatter, but that's it.
It's not a full one, yeah.
Then 2010 to 2000, 2008 to
13
2009.
to 14, obviously, as well.
13 to 14, 2008 to 2009, which is the McLaren to Braun.
Brown.
Then before that it was 2004 to 2005 when Ferrari. And Renault.
Ferrari. Yep.
Yeah. And then before that we had from 1998 to 2004 there were minor changes, but more or
Yeah.
less the cars remained the same.
They kept the same, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there were changes when it came to the barge boards. They tried to reduce all the appendages that used to be attached. Yeah, but the main concept was same.
Yeah.
Before that, 1998 and 1997, it was the Williams McLaren turnover,
Yep.
Jack Villeneuve and Mika Hakkinen.
Yep.
Before that, it was 1993, 1994, which is I think Prost,
Williams to
Prost to
Williams,
Schumacher,
yeah.
Williams to Benetton.
Yeah.
And before that, it was 1989 to 1990. And again, at that time, it remained the same because Honda moved from V12 to V10s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they still dominate.
But yeah, it's been 93 to 94 is the last time the incumbent constructor won in the new regulation set.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, that just popped into my head, and I was wondering, McLaren are the incumbent constructor. And I was like, oh, well, Red Bull went on a run. No, but Red Bull didn't win. That's what clicked in my head. I was like, wait a minute, Mercedes won the championship. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see if that one
Interesting.
holds. Yeah.
Okay. By the way, you think George wins the championship? No, you picked Lando. Should we? Okay.
Yeah, you can say it. Yeah. Like, people have already downloaded it by now anyway, if they... But yeah, if you want to download my season guide, link is in the description below. But yeah, I picked Lando. I'll look, we've already ruined this, but I can give you the top three anyway. Lando, George, and Oscar. For me, it's just, again, this heavily relies on Mercedes not having the fastest car. I think if Mercedes have the fastest car, I think George runs away with it. Personally,
without a doubt.
If McLaren have the fastest car, I think it's ups and downs.
I forgot to actually mention this earlier. Did you notice something with Kimi? He did an interview after Brazil where we questioned him if the relationship has changed with George, and his answer was, yeah, earlier he was more of a mentor to me. Now he's more of a rival since I've started beating him regularly. And there was a bit of a steal. I might have that audio. I'll share it with you. There was a bit of steeliness from him. And again, in the very next race, he finished just behind George again in Vegas.
No,
It's-
this is where I absolutely expect Antonelli to be on the coattails, but I
No,
think
not only
like,
that, the relationship, he said that it started changing now. As soon as he
and
started
it will.
beating him.
It's bound to.
It's going
right?
to happen.
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's bound to. I just think if you look at it in terms of like next season, if they've got a title-winning car, I think George wins it just because. Like, there's just so much that Antonelli would need to learn to win a title in F1 over the course of a season. And look, when I look
Just
at
pace
Oscar
cannot
doing it,
do it.
yeah, like if you look at even Oscar and Lando, like Oscar did so well in that change from 2 to 3. And I would say that George will be more difficult to beat than Lando because George is incredibly fast, but compared to Lando, he's also far more consistent. You know, like, and George is, I think, more adaptable as well. Like, look at the cars that he's been able to just switch to and get used to. Like that drive in 2021 or 2020, wasn't it, with the in Sakir? 2020, yeah, in Sakir. Like the fact that he just jumped into the Mercedes and immediately he should have won that race if Mercedes hadn't have fucked up, basically.
Yeah.
And like that's the driver you're facing. You know, it's if Lando Norris didn't have his mental breakdowns, imagine fighting that. Like Lando Norris at his best, but every weekend. That's what
By
you're
the way,
facing with
George has
George.
already beaten Lando to a championship in Formula 2 before they before they came here.
So
And he did that quite comfortably.
yeah,
But again,
I
Lando
genuinely
was young.
think that a lot of people who have underestimated George, if you're right and Mercedes has the best car next year, I know all of them won't admit it because they'll be like, oh, it's just a car as usual. But deep down, I think they'll be quite surprised by how fucking good George Russell is when he has the right car.
Right now there aren't that many people who think George isn't good.
This
It's
season
usually one large crowd, right?
Could it
Yeah.
be Max Verstappen fans?
Yeah. Anyways,
Anyway, yeah, cool.
so yeah, we more or less done, right? We've gone through
Yeah.
the entire list.
yeah.
Cool. So I think that is a bit of you can say, a teaser for 2026 of sorts of how the championship is going to go. Of course, we are going to cover all these things in a lot more detail and with more information that comes out, the preseason test and everything.
We've got a really early one this season too, right? Because we've got livery
January.
launches in like January because they're going to be on track. And even though it's a private test, they know photos and stuff will get out anyway somehow.
Remember 2014? It was supposed to be a private test, but everything was out anyways. So
It will just get out, like
Yeah.
regardless. You know.
hopefully it doesn't snow in Barcelona when they first do the
Yeah.
test.
That
That would
would be
be an
funny.
interesting one. Yeah. Anyways, that's a bit of a teaser for 2026. We'll obviously have a few things coming out in the future as well. So stay tuned and hit the subscribe button. Bye bye.
Bye, everybody. Bye.